Welcome everyone to Sakshi Apologetics Network. Today we have Praveen with us. What we are going to do today is we are going to examine what Rajiv Malhotra has been saying about Hindutva and Hinduism. First, let's play a clip so that you'll understand how he speaks contradictorily.
In terms of Indian politics, where I see that it's one of the most abused words in Indian politics right now, which was coined by VD Savarkar some years back. So I was wondering that what do you think is meant by Hindutva and how is it relevant in context of India right now?
See, I don't use it, but I understand how others use it. For me, the word Hindu is fine. Hindu Tattva. Tattva is essence. So you could say Hinduness. So Hinduness is Hindutva, as it literally means. As far as I'm concerned, Hindu is fine for me. Being a Hindu is fine for me. Once a word is coined, then it tends to be associated with in a positive way or negative way with whoever coined it, whoever uses it. So then it is considered like his ideology, his ism, he started one. And especially if the word Hindu is already there, but a new word is coined, variation of it is coined. And then it also can be seen as, is this for a particular political group? So does it mean I have to vote for that group in order to be a good Hindu now? You see? See, a word can be an adjective which describes, like good Hindu, Hinduness. Suppose you take a word, an adjective like good. So I make a company called Good, and I have many products from like Walmart. I have all the products. It's called Good. So then whenever somebody says your product is bad, I'll say no, it's good. So the confusion is good as a proper noun or good as an adjective. Correct? I'm entitled to using word good for my company. Right? While I'm entitled to saying this is good product because it is in the proper noun sense, I am giving the impression that it is a good product in the adjective sense. Correct? So, same way, I can brand Hindutva and we can be bunch of non-Hindus but we'll say, no, we've got this brand, we are Hindutva. The idea is, does the meaning of the word, does the organization live up to the meaning of the word? Or is it that by owning the word, you assume that you already are Hindu? You are the standard of Hinduness because you've got that meaning. It's like I got the word, I trademarked the word good products. So I am the one who got the good products. How can you have good products? I have that. You see. So to me the issue is that I am very clear on this. I am spending my whole life, everything I got for Dharma. To me, it's not the property of a particular party or a particular individual. I want good Hindus in every party. I don't mind if leftist Hindu, rightist Hindu is a good Hindu, is a good Hindu. I would like to have good dharmic people all over society, everywhere. And so, if a particular organization calls itself something else, but they are good Hindus, I will be happy. If they are calling themselves Hindutva and they are good Hindus, I am very happy. But if either of them is not good Hindu, I am not supporting them. So the name is not my criteria. So I feel that there is nothing wrong if somebody has a name, good products. But I would recommend to you that you have to go beneath the name and check it out. Don't let the name automatically mean that the products must be good because they call it that way. You see? So that's how I feel about this.
So what do you say about that?
Well, I think what he's trying to say is the word good can be used in two ways in the example that he took. The first thing is as an adjective and the second thing is as a proper noun. When you use Hindutva as a proper noun, anybody can use for themselves as a proper noun Hindutva. But the adjective Hindutva or the adjective good is the one that determines whether they really belong to that clan or that particular way of life or not. Because he also says you need to go underneath that word, not just the word outside. And he says that in a context of, say BJP, RSS and whoever, like the Hindutva political setups that we have in India. But at the same time, I would like to ask you to play another video for you for the audience. And once we see that video, we will be able to see how contradictorily or how how he changes his hats when he was speaking in a US university vis-a-vis speaking to an Indian channel. Why don't we watch that video?
Sure.
Today you've come to India at a time when there is a huge debate going on between Hinduism and Hindutva, and frankly one is also being seen as sort of a bad word, where it's all about rituals, all about pressurizing a certain vote bank. Is there how do you differentiate between the two?
Well, Sanatana Dharma has been reincarnated many times. We believe in the rebirth theory. So the Dharma has come at many times, many ages, in new forms. So the modern version was called Hinduism. And now in the last 2-3 generations, the Hindutva is another version. So I think this is a more recent reincarnation of Hinduism. Okay. But Hinduism is an old faith. Even older is the Sanatana Dharma. So this version of Hinduism has a very strong political dimension to it and a social dimension to it.
Yes. As you have seen the video, he contradicts himself. In this video, he says that, the term Hindutva is political and things like that.
Yeah.
So what do you say about that?
Yeah, see, the second video, very ironically, he says that the Sanatana Dharma reincarnates itself as Hinduism, and then the Hinduism reincarnates itself as a Hindutva, which simply means it is just the same. Hindu, Hindutva, Dharma, Sanatana Dharma, everything is same. But in the first video, he says that for me, Hindu is just good, and I don't need to call myself, I don't need to coin another word called Hindutva. Even if you coin, it must have, that he gives an inclination towards that Hindutva can also be abused, can also be termed by people who are not really Hindus. But, in the second video, he says it's just the same. So that's the kind of irony, and that's the kind of, word jugglery that he does to fool people. For example, in the second video that we watch, he says it's a political ideology because the religions that came from outside of India, when they were forceful. He didn't define what he means by forceful. Probably they debated well with them. They debated the ill practices of the Sanatana Dharma, or the Hindutva he calls himself as, and equates it to the Hinduism which is popularly practiced in India. And he says because of that they had to fight back, and because of that fight back, the Dharma reincarnated as a Hindutva or a political ideology to give a tough fight to the foreign religions. That's what he is trying to say in the second video. However, in both the videos, this is where I would like all our audiences to see the difference. He is trying to say that Hindutva is Sanatana Dharma, which is from ancient of days, which is from which is like everlasting or timeless. That is what he's trying to say. But I think this is a myth that he's trying to propose. It is a myth to call Hindutva or Sanatana Dharma as a real Sanatana. As he said, just using his own example, somebody calling themselves Sanatana doesn't make them Sanatana. It needs to have some evidence, right?
Yeah. That's what he says in the first video.
Yeah, in the first video, that's what he says, and he doesn't
go underneath
the word
that we are using.
Correct.
And get to the actual meaning of the word.
So he uses the word Sanatana Dharma, and we need to check out whether it is really Sanatana, and he didn't furnish any evidence for that.
And in fact, we forget about the evidence. If you look at his very words, what does he mean? It has reinvented, or he uses words similar to that, right? That new words have been coined.
Yes.
And it has different shades of meaning.
Correct.
So if that is true, then it has been evolving.
Yes.
So my question is, what has evolved? Is it Sanatana, or what has been what already has been going constantly? Is that Sanatana? So we should be very precise there, because he wants precision, right? We should go underneath the word, and we should speak precisely, and we should use adjectives, very precisely. So taking his logic, whatever he spoke, if we analyze it that way, then Hindutva is not Sanatana.
Well, logically that's how it follows, and that's the reason I call him a fake scholar. And that's the reason I call him a fake, logician, or somebody that tries to manipulate people using some words, right? Some jugglery. Because the jugglery of words, it is simply like that. For example, he calls it Sanatana. At the same time, he calls it, it can be modern by evolving, right? By reincarnating itself into a political setup. Which actually contradicts himself. So the Hindutva that is available today is not Sanatana, or the Sanatana Dharma that was available, say, 200 years or 300 years ago is not something that we have today.
It is not relevant anymore.
Absolutely.
So now we have a new Hindu,
absolutely,
which can be called Hindutva.
Absolutely. So in his own terms, he is accepting that it's a myth to call Hindutva as Sanatana, because it is evolving, because it is no more relevant. Tomorrow, say 50 years from now, there will be another form of Hindutva, and they would say that is Sanatana. For example, I'll give you an example. When British Raj was here, when everybody was fighting for the freedom of the India, the country India, and it was not India at that time, it was British Raj, and in British Raj we had a part of Bhutan with us, part of Myanmar with us, including whole Myanmar with us, a part of Afghanistan with us, Pakistan with us, Kashmir with us, Baluch with us, right? Part of, in fact, lots of these areas were part of the Hindu, the so-called Indus Valley, or the so-called Indian subcontinent, and at that time it was one nation and everybody were fighting against British. But the so-called today people who call themselves as Hindutva warriors, who try to paint who tries to paint Rama as a symbol of violence, Bajrangbali as a symbol of violence, and try to goon around, try to vandalize people. These guys were actually helping British. And they coined the word Hindutva at that time, and they said, the Vande Mataram, they coined another word called Ma Bharati, or Mother India, and that the first time that word was coined was written in Anandamath, which was written by Bankim Chandra Chatterjee in 1800. So basically, their ideology of Hindutva, which is started by the help of the so-called nationalists called British, and they funded this ideology, because of their help. Bankim Chandra Chatterjee wrote this Anandamath, and because of that, whatever was Islamicized within the Indian subcontinent was no more mother anymore. Once they got independence in 1947, it is no more a mother. How can a mother be divided like that is the question that we get. So how can Hindutva be evolved into such a situation that they don't fight with their enemy first, and they say, as long as the British Raj is with us and we are able to fight back the Muslims, we are good. We don't need to get rid of British Raj, right? So this is the kind of evolution or evolving religion that they come up with. So when the British was here as rulers, they will go with them and they call that as Sanatana Hindutva Dharma. When the British are gone, then they will come up to, they will fight for another power and they will call it Sanatana Dharma, right? Yeah. So painting, for example, Hinduism, in my opinion, in my childhood, I'm 40 years old, in my childhood, I have never seen Rama or Bajrangbali or Krishna or anybody painted violent. They were all regular, deities worshipped by Hindus, and they were all very part and parcel of our society. But today, they're all polarized, right? For example, in the latest, I'll give you a very latest example in in the elections of Delhi, which is like say a month ago, in fact, less than a month ago, there were slogans by, given by the BJP party and the RSS goons, calling that Desh ke gaddaron ko goli maro salon ko, which means the traitors of the nation, you need to kill them by by bullets. Like basically you shoot the bullets at them. Who are Gaddar in their opinion? Who are traitors of the nation in their opinion? Whoever doesn't follow Hindutva. Which Hindutva? Is it the evolved Hindutva or the older Hindutva that I grew up in, or anybody in us grew up in? So that's a classic, very recent example. For example, Kanhaiya Kumar is a Hindu and they would want to kill him. Why? Because he don't want to follow the Hindutva that they propose. Yeah. And what is the Hindutva they propose? And what is the Hindutva they propose? Let me show you what is the Hindutva they propose. Golwalkar's we or our nationhood defined. This is the book that they would bank on, and bunch of thoughts. He is called Golwalkar is called the Guru Golwalkar. These are
He's the Guru of RSS.
Yeah, Guru of RSS. Though he is not
ideology.
Correct. Though he is not the actual founder of the RSS. Hedgewar is the founder of the RSS, but Guru Golwalkar is the Sarasang Chalak who defined most of the ideologies of the RSS, and Savarkar is the one that defined most of the ideologies of the RSS. And you can see the evidences on the screen. While we are talking. You can see the evidences on the screen. What I'm going to say. So what is the Hindutva that Golwalkar says? Golwalkar says in Hindutva, the fabric of India doesn't exist. In Hindutva, the fabric of inclusiveness of all the religions doesn't exist. What is the Hindutva? In Hindutva, there are two nations theory as Savarkar proposed. What is Hindutva? In Hindutva, people are not defined. For example, Baba Sahib Ambedkar, he said Hindus ranging from Afghanistan to Kanyakumari or even further to Sri Lanka, they never had one ethnic identity. Their food was different, their clothing was even different. Now. Yeah, you can see the evidence on the screen where Baba Sahib Ambedkar said that. So their food is different, their clothing is different, their language is different, their culture is different, everything is different, but uniforming, not uniting. Hindutva that they speak about today is not uniting. It is uniforming the language, uniforming the way they dress.
Like the school children wearing uniform.
Yeah. Dictating what you think, dictating how to think, dictating what to eat, dictating. This is the Hindutva. Is this primordial in his opinion? Is this the Sanatana that he is talking about? So it is definitely not Sanatana. It's a myth that he is promoting.
Yeah, I mean, in one sense, what I feel after you spoke is, what I think is, the Hindutva as such is very closely related to Manu.
Oh yeah.
And, as you said, the restriction of food, restriction of clothing, restriction of where to stay, where to live, who should live where, and what they should wear, what work they should do. Everything was defined by Manu, and this is the Hindutva that they are speaking of. That's what Hindutva means.
Yeah.
And Hinduism as such, which was to an extent inclusive, because as you said, one incident that you mentioned when you were a child is you didn't see an angry Hanuman.
Yeah.
I also saw the Ramayana as a kid. When I was a kid, I used to wait for Ramayana. Sometimes delay going to the church.
Oh yeah.
And watch the Ramayana.
Oh yeah.
So I saw a very
it was an Indian story.
Yeah, it was a very peaceful Hanuman.
Yeah.
Who exercised patience until his tail was lit on fire.
Correct.
But when you look at the Hanuman on the car bumpers and everything,
right? Taxis, cabs. Even today, Delhi is under fire just because of chanting slogans of Hanuman.
Yeah, you see a very angry Hanuman, and maybe Rajiv Malhotra means it has evolved into this kind of an angry gods that they are believing in right now. From the peaceful Ram, in fact, if you want to take examples of, he gives up his kingdom and goes to a forest.
Oh yeah.
It speaks about a little bit of his character.
Oh yeah.
They have moved away from that and started believing in the killing Ram.
Absolutely.
we can speak about that as well, but we'll not do that.
That gives rise to a second myth that Rajiv is trying to promote in this video, and that is Hindutva it unites all the Hindus. He says, when the Hindus unite and they try to reciprocate the force of the foreign religions, in his opinion, this is what they become. This is how Hindutva evolved. So the second myth he brings out is it unites Hindus.
When you mentioned that, I saw that. I have a question. When they say Sanatana, that ancient, since time immemorial,
right?
It has been like this. If you go back to time immemorial, and if you look at the Indian history, in which nobody from the Hindu fold or the so-called Brahmins, who were the ones only educated ones in the ancient past, they didn't write any history. The Brahmins, who were the educated class, whose only job was education, they didn't record a systematic history. For example, if you read the Roman history, there were historians who recorded many aspects of history.
There are different standards.
I'm speaking in those lines.
Yeah, there are different standards, but there are historians like R.C. Majumdar, and there are
when you say about Majumdar, I'm speaking about the ancient history. Like when they say Sanatana, who's the ancient historian? Let's say 500 years ago, or 1,000 or 2,000 years ago, because these people speak about 5,000 or lakhs of years ago.
That's a myth.
When they speak about Yuga.
Yeah.
So there is no history.
That's a myth.
There is no recorded history. Nobody has written it.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It has happened. R.C. Majumdar, when did he live?
Right. What I'm trying to say is, people like R.C. Majumdar and people like Ambedkar and people like who are learned, that we know, as you said, from our it's like 100 years ago from now, kind of people we know. And they have collected these documents. They have collected these left out or the footprints of the history, and they have collected in the form of they interpreted this in the form of history, and you can see on the screen right now that the word Hindu, like Rajiv says, it is Sanatan Dharma is ancient of it's really eternal, timeless kind of thing. But nowhere in these, whether it is 4 Vedas, or whether it is Astadasha Puranas, or whether it is Upanishads, or Itihasas, nowhere the word Hindu exists. Neither the word Hindutva exists. So it is just a fake, just a myth that he is trying to promote. But of course there is Dharma, and that Dharma is nothing but the caste system.
Yeah.
Dharma is nothing but caste system, as Bhagavad Gita rightly says. I mean, Krishna in Bhagavad Gita very rightly says that Chaturvarnyam maya srishta gunakarma vibhagashaha. Simply means the 4 varnas of the society I have created. So whatever is not fitting inside the 4 varnas of the society, Krishna did not create.
Yeah.
Right? He did not create. So
there is a whole lot of that way.
Oh yeah, that's the primary idea or ideology of the Vedas, that the gods of the Vedas are limited to the Bharata Vamsha. Right? Gods of the Vedas are limited to the Indian subcontinent and especially to the Bharata Vamsha. Not even extended to the local Adivasis or local scheduled castes or local, people who were not within the 4 varnas of the society. So it was never it is a myth to call itself a Sanatana Dharma. Number 2, it is a myth to say that it unites people.
In fact, when you speak about unity, they speak about the British as the ones who divided. But when I read history, the British only maintained the status quo of the Indian subcontinent, because the Indian subcontinent was always divided.
Oh yes, it was never one nation before British came.
Yes, yes. In fact, I come from, down south. My father comes from down south, Kanyakumari, which was never part of India.
Oh, yeah.
If you look at
not even British,
not even the British India.
Yeah.
It wasn't included into the British India
under the British Raj.
Under
yes.
the British Raj.
Yes.
So
they were always part, like they were Samantas.
Yeah. So it was very late, very late.
Yeah.
That, because of the king, it became sort of under the British Raj sort of. But otherwise, even Ashoka, who ruled the biggest part of India, even his rule, it wasn't geographically, it wasn't united. And as people, I don't think they were united because there were wars between the Marathas and the Banglas, and between the the Deccan and the Marathas.
Correct.
So if you look at the wars, it was a warring country between each other.
Yeah.
And
they were all calling themselves the so-called Sanatana Dharma people by Rajiv Malhotra. Whether they called themselves as Sanatana, we don't know, because there is no history like that which they said. For example, Shaiva kings never called themselves Hindus. Vaishnavas never called themselves Hindus, and Shaivas and Vaishnavites they always fighting, and they killed each other. Same way, like people from Bengal area, people from Assam, people from Odisha, they all were most of them were primarily Shaktites, or people who worship Shakti, and they never were called themselves as Hindus in the past. And when Ashoka united them, he did not unite them as Hindus. He ruled over them as a Buddhist, and he united India as a Buddhist. So Hindu, the ideology of the so-called United Religions of India. It is United Religions of India basically. Hinduism is a United Religions of India, because there are religions like Shaktites, there are religions like Shaivites, religions like Vaishnavites, religions like Charvakas, religions like atheists, religions like Jains, Buddhists, and so on and so forth. There are many folds of ways of thinking or philosophy, or some would say it is a pantheistic, some would say it is panentheistic, some would say it is polytheistic. So lots of different ideologies coming to, even in Hindu sect there are, so-called, in his opinion, Hindus, but in my opinion they are not Hindus. They call themselves a monotheist gods also. And there are people like Adivasis, they do not consider themselves Hindus even today. Even today there is in Delhi there is a protest going on from the Adivasi community, calling themselves, we don't want to consider ourselves as Hindus, because they never divided themselves and ruled over. But as I said earlier, Krishna in his Bhagavad Gita says, he says, Sri Bhagavan Vacha, which means Bhagavan says that in Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna himself says that Shreyan Swadharmo Vigunaha, which means in your dharma, in your own religion, it is better, even if it is viguna, even if it is even if there are falsehood or folly in your religion, continue in your religion, right? Paradharma svanushtithat, which means if the other's religion or other's dharma, even if it is good, don't follow it. He says it. And what is the dharma he's talking? He divided people into four varnashramas, and that is the dharma: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. Brahmana coming out of the head, Kshatriya coming out of the bahu or the shoulders, Vaishya coming out of the belly and thigh parts, and Shudra coming from the feet. There is no Adivasi, there is no place for Adivasi, there is no place for the South Indians, there is no place for scheduled castes or untouchables. These are all Hindu as a religion never united people. It always broke my country. It always broke, and that is the legacy that this guy he wants to establish again in my country. That is the legacy he wants to bring back. He is raising money in the name of Infinity Foundation just to establish the dharma in the Sanatana Dharma in India. And what is that Sanatana Dharma? Brahman should rule over people with knowledge, Kshatriya should rule over people with the might and power, and Vaishya should rule over people with money, and Shudra should always submit, should always do the Shushruta, which means to help, to serve, and to take care of the needs of the above three castes. So that is the dharma that he is talking. For example, you talk about Shudra. There was no. You can see the evidence on the screen. There was no right to education. There was no right to property. There was no right to get married. There was no right to think. There was no right to sit with Brahmins or anybody else. There was no right to give his opinion. There was no right to equal justice. Equal justice. Can you think about it? Yeah. There was no right to. There was no right to talk in front of these guys. If he would talk or recite a mantra, they would cut off his tongue. So that's the kind of, as you said, Manu Dharma Shastra. Sanatana Dharma Shastra is nothing but Manu Dharma Shastra, and that is what this Infinity Foundation is wanting to bring in inside the India, and also these Americans. I don't know when will they wake up. He is trying to force Hindutva even on America, even in UK, and even on the Europe. So that is what his agenda is, and people, I don't know how they are put up with this guy.
In fact, I'm reminded of Ambedkar. He mentions that when these people, especially the Brahmins, who believe so strongly in the caste, when they go to other countries, they would take this menace to that country.
Let me remind you another menace here.
Before that, I'm reminded of Ambedkar. When you spoke about the discrimination that they do.
Correct.
And don't give rights to certain people, and the oppression that they bring in society. I'm reminded of Ambedkar. He speaks about the oppression he went through in his book, Waiting for the Visa. We would put that in the description box, the Kindle edition, and we can, on the screen you can see that, the screenshot of the book, Waiting for the Visa. I would request all the audience to purchase it from Kindle and, read that book. And people who believe that Ambedkar did some good to the Indian society and India at large, should read this book and understand what Brahmanism and what Manu has done to India.
You can call it Hindutva now. You can call that Hindutva now.
What Manu has done and what Hindutva has done to Ambedkar in particular. He categorically mentions that in his book, which is displayed on the screen.
Yeah, even in the book that I showed right now, like the Bunch of Thoughts and the We and Our Nationhood, in these books, you can see the evidence on the screen when I say that. Golwalkar says that is the highest form of a society. Like dividing people into those four is the highest form of society. In his opinion, girls are not good for studies. Girls are not good for education. Girls,
Brahmin women then, if they follow Golwalkar, they should actually question themselves and their behavior. Especially, people who believe in the Sanatana Dharma. They should actually question themselves. Why are they going and educating themselves?
They would go behind a mantra and hide behind it where it would say Yatra Nari Ramante Pujyante Tatra Devata. It's a myth again. It's a myth again. Like where the women are celebrated and women are worshipped. That is where the devatas are, and that is what the Bharata kingdom is. It is a myth again, because soon after that they would say, and in the same in their own literature they would say, women is a menace. Women is they would call all names against women. They would say women, if she talks over to you, you beat them. You can see the evidence on the screen. The women with hair on her face can kill her husband if you get married. Women with what not? Women is lesser than dog when she is menstruating. You cannot touch a woman when she is menstruating. You drink a glass of water from the woman. You got to clean yourself. So on and so forth. So they never united. The so-called scheduled caste, the scheduled people or the untouchables of India, they didn't unite, and they call themselves people like Rajiv Malhotra would want to put them into Hindutva fold, and people like Shudras, people like Adivasis, people like, all they constitute about 80% of the total India. They never united these people. They always oppressed these people. So the second myth actually is a bigger myth. Hindutva, based on his understanding, if it is Sanatana Dharma, based on, the Manu Dharma Shastra or Parashara Smriti or whatever, he quotes, he never quotes, those books. He just, tries to,
I'm a scholar,
he
I
just,
did research.
Oh yeah, what research? I don't know. What research? I'm, the Hindutva that Golwalkar talks about, everything that we said. The Hindutva that Lokamanya Tilak talks about also talks about the same thing. So the Hindutva that he is proposing, if it is something new with the goodness in it, the myth that he wants to propagate now, he should give us the evidence. He should give us the evidence for its eternity or timelessness, and he should give us the evidence for uniting it. Let me give you a classic example, and we can finish the video. For example, in South India, they never considered people from southern part of India as Hindus or as people belonging to the Bharatakanda. In Bharatakanda, people, what they did is the Nambudiri Brahmins hailing from the central part of India, they went to the southern parts of India, like southern Tamil Nadu and Kerala, just to make sure that the Brahmanical creed or the Aryan creed or the Aryan race goes ahead. What they did is they passed a law. This law was inactive, or this law was fully enforced until the British came, until the missionaries came and they fought against this. And it was part and parcel of the constitution of the Travancore Empire or the Travancore Kingdom, which now is called, the Thiruvananthapuram area and all of that, right? They said the practice was the Nambudiri Brahmins have to, bear the first child with any woman in the society, any woman, with any Shudra woman, or if she gets married, she must sleep with the Brahmin for 7 nights, before she goes and sleeps with her own husband. That was the law in India, right? So this is the kind of Sanatana Dharma he wants to bring back into India.
In fact, related to that, even Vivekananda makes a statement that in Kerala there is madness regarding the caste.
And that is the Sanatana Dharma he wants to bring back into India.
The Hindutva guy, if they have to speak anything about Hindutva or anything like that, as a revival of the religion, Vivekananda should be the one whom they should be speaking, and he says that there is madness in Kerala regarding caste.
Oh yeah. So that is the dharma that he wants to bring back. That is the oppression that he wants to bring back, and he wants people like educated people like you, me, or And again, let me remind you that in this book, the Golwalkar also says there are three menaces or three pestilences for India, or three things that you want to get rid of in India. Number 1, Muslims. Number 2, Christians. And number 3, communists. Right? So we will talk about this in the next episode. But Hindutva is nothing but a criminalized or a violent expression of the caste system. A forceful enforcement of caste agenda. So just put the agenda of caste system and bring it with force and make it, use the muscle of your money, muscle of your power, and bring back the caste system to put down the people, the Bahujans, the Adivasis, and everybody else except these three, Sharmaji, Varmaji, and Guptaji. These are the three people that they want to protect, and everybody else underneath them. So that is Hindutva.
In fact, what you said can be very well summarized by the Shambhuka Vada in Ramayana, where the Shambhuka was killed primarily because he did something which only a Brahmin or a high caste human should be doing.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can see the same thing even today in Gujarat.
And
a couple
that is
of
a small, that is a smaller story.
Oh yeah,
which is being enacted. That's what you're saying.
Oh yeah,
in history, in the present India.
Oh yeah, hundreds of times. Just a couple of weeks ago in Gujarat, just because a Dalit played DJ, Dalit played loud music in his wedding. When they get married, they can firecrackers, they can dance, they can put loud music and do everything that they want. But if a Dalit gets married and he puts a little bit of sound on the DJ, he was beaten. He was ripped off his clothes, and most of his relatives left that village and they went off. You can see the evidence on the screen. And a month ago, or maybe 2 months ago in Uttar Pradesh, because a Dalit rode on a horse on, just as Bharat in regular weddings of India, he was pulled down. He was molested physically. He was beaten, and he was shamed. He was put to shame. He was all sort of things. And again, 1.5 week ago, you can see the evidence on the screen. A Dalit boy, because he spoke. He gave a reply back to these Hindutva goons. They raped him. A boy was raped. So this is the Hindutva that Infinity Foundation is funding.
Bring to India.
That is what he is funding. And these people who are who call themselves Hindus, if they are getting carried away with this kind of agenda, where he is making, or he is helping, he is funding people to criminalize Hanuman, criminalize Krishna, criminalize Rama, so that they go and rape boys, they go and rape girls, they go and put the Dalits down to the shame, and so on and so forth.
Yep. Thank you very much, Praveen, for your informative talk, and giving us so much of information. And I would request the viewers to read the books that has been mentioned, and especially read Waiting for the Visa by Ambedkar. And from the information that you have heard, you should understand that Hindutva would oppress and suppress the Dalits as they did with Ambedkar. When you read the book, you would understand how they oppressed and suppressed Ambedkar. They didn't want him to be educated. And thank you very much for listening and watching. Please subscribe, and please share the video if you like it, and click the bell icon too. We would see you again with few more myths that has been promoted by people like Rajiv Malhotra. Thank you very much.